Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And I haven't made a video over here in 3 or 4 days. As many of you know, if you watch my vlog, I had a tooth pulled. And I have been my mouth has been so sore the last couple days. So I've just been resting and relaxing. And I got up today and I felt a lot better. And so I started filming videos. But the more I continued to talk, the more my mouth started to hurt. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to push through this. I'm going to push through making these videos. And then I'm going to just relax this evening and watch a movie or two with my husband. And I don't know, get relaxed for tomorrow, and hopefully tomorrow I'll feel even better than I did today and just continue to push through this. But I'm so thankful that I am feeling better, because last night I was laying in bed and I had an ice pack on my mouth, and I was like, I don't know that I can continue to go through this many more days. And I was actually like looking at the sheet that they had given me of like the, you know, how long the pain should happen and all this kind of stuff. And it said like day 1, and then it said like days 2 and 3, and then it said like days 3 through 5 it should be diminished. And so I had the tooth pulled on Wednesday, and so that was, you know, the 3rd night, and so today is the 4th day. So by tomorrow, well, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, yeah, by the end of tomorrow I should be feeling back to normal, hopefully. But it's weird because I have a space now in my mouth which my tongue wants to go to. So whenever I'm talking, my tongue goes to that. It's just, anyways. But I wanted to get back to reading some meditations today. I actually pulled out the 2 Melody Beatty books. I did not look to see what the meditations were about whatsoever. I thought, let's just see what the universe tells us. Yeah, so I'm going to pick from the Language of Letting Go first. I'm going to pick from it. I'm going to read from the Language of Letting Go first. So let's see, February 11th is today. Let's see what the meditation is about. Hopefully it's something really good. All right, February 11th, Divinely Led. Well, this will be interesting. And it's a quote from Alcoholics Anonymous. Send me the right thought, word, or action. Show me what my next step should be. In times of doubt and indecision, please send me your inspiration and guidance. The good news of surrendering ourselves and our life to a power greater than ourselves is that we come into harmony with a grand plan, one greater than we can imagine. We are promised divine guidance if we ask for it, if we work the 12 steps. What greater gift could we receive than knowing our thoughts, words, and actions are being directed? We aren't a mistake, and we don't have to control or repress ourselves or others for life to work out. Even the strange, the unplanned, the painful, and those things we call errors can evolve into harmony. We can be guided into understanding what we need to do to take care of ourselves. We will begin to trust our instincts, our feelings, our thoughts. We will know when to go, to stop, to wait. We will learn a great truth. The plan will happen in spite of us, not because of us. I pray today and each day that my thoughts, words, and actions may be divinely led. I pray that I may move forward in confidence, knowing my steps are guided. You know, it's interesting that I just kind of randomly picked this meditation, because had I read this meditation before, this is probably a meditation that I wouldn't pick to read for this channel. And the reason why is because I know that there are a lot of people out there that are atheist or agnostic, which I respect. And so whatever your belief system is or non-belief system is, you know, I respect. And so I try to read meditations that are kind of all-encompassing of all people. But I think that this is a meditation that can be all-encompassing of all people, no matter what it is that you believe. But I'm just going to tell you like where my thoughts went with it. For many, many years, I was somebody that thought that there was purpose behind the things that happened in life. You know, I would say it was kind of like, you know, the scene in Steel Magnolias, you know, after Julia Roberts dies. And I always say this in videos, so I'll say it in this video. If I'm ruining it for you, the movie's been out for 30 years, so I apologize. But anyway, you know, when Daryl Hannah is like, you know, says the thing to why can't I think of her name? But anyway, she says, you know, like, you know, God's got her kind of thing, you know, and whatever. And I always kind of thought that, like, I always kind of thought that there was some kind of divine meaning behind something, or there was a meaning behind everything that was going on. And I am a believer that there is a plan, and that, you know, that there's a God and I'm not it. I do believe that today. For me, I believe that. That doesn't mean that that has to be for everybody else. And if you're somebody that watches my, you know, vlogs and you know about my history, you know that my husband is an atheist. And it's interesting because that has led to many very, very interesting conversations within our household. And we respect each other's, you know, belief systems or non-belief systems on that. And I do believe that atheism is a belief system. I do. After having, you know, talked to him for many, many years about that. And people are often like, how does that even work with you? Well, I think it works with mutual respect is what it, you know, works. But I was somebody that for a long time, I mean, 20 plus years, believed that things that happen to us in life happen for a reason, that there's a reason behind it. I don't know that I believe that today. I don't know that I can say that for everything that happens in this world, there is a reason behind it. I think there's a lot of tragedy. I think there's a lot of sadness in this world that there is just no way to kind of make sense of, or that there is no way to say, well, this happened for that reason, or this happened to teach us this lesson, or that happened to teach us that lesson. I am a believer that you can make sense out of those things that happen. You can apply them, and you can say, okay, well, this thing that happened in my life, this is what I can learn from that. Or I can take this experience that I've had, or I can take this tragedy or the sad experience that I had in my life, or this horrible situation, I can take it, right? And I can learn something from it. And I can make it a foundation for how I choose to live my life going forward. But, you know, after having lived to 50 and having experienced so many things in my life, I'm not so sure that I believe that things happen anymore and have a reason behind them. I don't know. I guess I wish I could say that I did, but I don't necessarily believe that anymore. But I do think that, you know, it's like the same thing like when people say to me, well, how do you know that there's a God? And I'm like, well, I don't know, but I have, you know, I believe, I have faith that there's a God. And I shared this not too long ago. Did I share it on here, or did I share it? I think I shared it on here. The wheelbarrow analogy, which is where, and this is from a 12-step program, the wheelbarrow analogy is that there's this guy, and he has this wheelbarrow, and he's going like over like the Grand Canyon on like this tightrope, and there's this guy watching him, and he goes over the wheelbarrow, and he goes over the tightrope, and he comes back. And he says to the guy that's watching him, he says, do you believe that I can go over this tightrope in the wheelbarrow? And the guy looks at him and he says, well, of course I believe you. You just did it. I just saw you do it. Of course I believe you. And he says, do you have faith that I can do it? And the guy looks at him, he goes, well, what do you mean, do I have faith? Yes, I have faith. Yeah, and he goes, well, get in the wheelbarrow. And I think that that's the difference between belief and faith. And for me, I've really that's been a question I've really had to ask myself in the last couple years, is like, what is the difference between belief and faith? And really, and where do I put that, you know? And for me, belief and faith, you know, belief is having a belief in a higher power. Faith is trusting that that higher power has me, you know, and I can trust fall into that higher power and whatever's happening. But then I also, to have blind faith, I think is so difficult, even when you are a person of, you know, strong belief and all that kind of stuff and strong faith. I think to have just like blind faith and whatever is so difficult. I think it's so hard, you know, that I think really for me, it's taking situations that happen in my life today. And this is after like having long conversations with my friends, you know, that have had horrible things happen in their lives as well. And saying, you know, like, no, I do not believe that this thing happened as a result for me to learn a lesson. I don't believe that this happened or that happened or this happened for me to learn a lesson from, right? Like, I don't believe that if there's a God works that way. But I do believe that we can make sense of the world. We can learn to be better people. We can learn to be different people by these opportunities that have been presented to us, by the things that are presented to us in life. That way, when crap happens to us, when horrible stuff happens to us, it isn't just horrible stuff that happens, and it's just not just like mindless stuff that happens and then it's like, okay, well, why did this happen? There's no reason why this could happen, right? then we can make some sense out of it, if that makes sense out of it, if that makes sense of it. Not that it happened for a reason, but it did happen. And what do we do with that? You know, what do we do with that horrible tragedy that happened? Like, how do we talk about it? How do we learn from it? How do we grow from it? And I think that is the really difficult piece to all of it, you know, is learning from these experiences and, you know, and to some degree saying, okay, well, I'm going to trust fall into whatever, you know, God has planned for me. And I don't know what that is sometimes, you know, but, you know, for me, I don't know, like when I was like in my youth, I would say like, oh, this happened and like it happened for that, happened, whatever. You know, I will say this, I'm also a big believer in God moments. And it's like when somebody will say something and I'm like, bing, 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 like that happened and like God speaking to me in a certain way. Or if something will happen, it's like random moments that will happen. And I feel like, okay, like this is on a bigger level, like I'm being spoken to or I'm being led, I'm being guided. And that's just how I feel today, you know. Peter Monn, 28 years ago when I first got sober, if you had said all this stuff, if you had shown me this video that I'm filming right now, what I would have said to you is, I think that's a bunch of crap. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in any of that kind of stuff. Like I really, really struggled. And in fact, I share this story a lot. I went to this meeting when I first got sober and, there was like all these people and they were talking about God and I don't even know what they were talking about, but I got up and I walked to the back of the room and this woman got up and she walked back and she said, I'll never forget this. And she said, introduce herself, and I put my hand out and I said, I'm Peter. And she goes, oh no. She was like, baby, we hug at this meeting. And she gave me a big hug. And she said, why did you get up from the meeting? And I said, because they're talking about God and I really don't want to hear it. And she said, is that what you heard? And I said, yeah, because they were saying God this and God that. And she said, take what you like and leave the rest. And I was like, what? And she said, take what you like and leave the rest. And that for me has been such like I don't know, like a uniformity of rule for me that like I don't have to believe or get with what anybody else believes or is down with. Like for me, it's about what applies to me and what works for me. And that can change and that can grow over time, you know, like that doesn't have to stay the same. And, you know, and I highly respect people that are religious and, you know, do this and do that and whatever, as long as their religious beliefs don't hurt other people. Like, I respect that, you know. My mother was somebody that, she went to church every Sunday. She was very, very involved in her church. But just because she did doesn't mean that I had to, and that wasn't where I found it, you know. I could find it standing out in a field or listening to Bob Dylan, you know, late at night with the stars overhead, you know. And so where we find our spirituality and where we find God in our lives, you know, for me, sometimes it's so funny because I think people today, a lot of people that I know hear that word God, the way that I heard God at 22 and a half, which was like this scary, omniscient thing that like very religious kind of thing. I don't think of God that way today, you know? I think of God as this friend of mine that I have that's looking out for me, that's a little bit older than me, trying to, you know, hold my hand through life and teach me some lessons as I live. And the things that happen to me in my life, you know, my God says to me, okay, what can we make of this? What can we do with this, you know? So that it doesn't just exist as this horrible thing that happened in your life. And how can you be of guidance to other people? And how can you be, you know, of service to other people? And so that your life means something as well, you know, and so that you can help them, and so that their lives can mean something as well. And how can you plant the seed of your story? And, you know, and that's what my God is to me today. You know, my God isn't this, and this isn't to offend anybody. Like I said, like I highly respect other people that believe differently, but like, you know, my God isn't something today that's like, you know, written on a piece of paper or whatever. My God today is a feeling that I have. My God is in my soul, you know, and my God is something that on good days, I trust, and on difficult days, I talk to when I'm struggling with that. So anyway, let me know what you think about all of that in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.